Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see everyone here. Hope you're doing well. Well, y'all, we're going to talk about something that Donald Trump is having done on the Department of Justice website. Now, before we get to that, I just want to make one more announcement. The hair products are still 40% off. You have until 11:59 tonight to get it at 40% off. And this is all three of my stores: Etsy, Shopify, and TikTok Shop. So grab your hair products today before the sale ends. So let's really get into this. Now, I think it was bad enough when we found out the January Sixers, Donald Trump is trying to give them reparations. Well, it gets even worse. He's trying to scrub the crime altogether and act like it never happened. So, people noticed immediately over on the Department of Justice website, a lot of the press releases about January 6th were scrubbed, along with other information about people that got arrested and information on what occurred that day. Well, the Department of Justice, I guess, to justify giving this money out, are going to act like it was something that didn't happen or act like it was some innocent gathering up at the Capitol. But they're trying to rewrite history and rewrite what actually happened that day. Am I shocked? No, no. This is how low down and dirty these people get. So we're supposed to all act like January 6th never happened. Unbelievable. But this is what's really happening. Y'all, I'm going to share my screen. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Can everybody see the screen? Thank you. Thank you so much.
So the Department of Justice is racing to rewrite history right now, actively deleting pages related to January 6th insurrectionists. I need your help. I'm racing at the same time to try to archive pages before they're taken down or completely scrubbed from the internet. I've been able to secure the indictments of multiple January 6th defendants, including Oath Keepers and Proud Boys and more. I've also, the Wayback Machine has helped because there are many archived pages of press releases that the DOJ has taken down. Essentially, if you're waking up this morning, the fresh hell that we're waking up to is DOJ is changing history, rewriting history, scrubbing its website of any reference to January 6th defendants or insurrectionists. So here's how I need your help. Let me know in the comments of any specific January 6th defendant or instance that you want archived, that you want preserved, and I'm working to preserve them. I'm going to throw them in my Substack, linked in bio, and we're just going to keep making sure that history cannot be rewritten, because I think that's an important job right now. Happy Saturday morning to all who celebrate.
Donald Trump's Department of Justice has been caught red-handed, deleting massive troves of information about individuals convicted of crimes during the January 6th insurrection who were also involved in child sex crimes. You heard that right. The Trump regime, the Epstein class, deleting information about individuals convicted of child sex crimes who were involved in the January 6th insurrection. Hat tip to Merrill Cornfield from the Washington Post, who caught the Department of Justice doing this. The Department of Justice then responded. Let me show you what went down, and I'll also share with you, while all of this is taking place, including Donald Trump setting up a $1.8 billion slush fund for January 6th insurrectionists using our taxpayer dollars. You have MAGA Republicans like Ron DeSantis running away from the cameras like the cowards that they are, refusing to answer questions. Watch as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis runs away from a very basic question. And I'm going to show you in a moment what he's also running away from. Donald Trump's Department of Justice deleting information about these individuals who Trump wants to pay money to, who are also involved in child sex crimes. Let's watch DeSantis running away.
Governor, what do you think of the weaponization fund, the DOJ fund? Could you comment on that?
Now, here's what was posted by Merrill Cornfield. She posted the following. The Trump administration is quietly deleting info about the Capitol attack from the Department of Justice website as it prepares to give funds to these January 6th insurrectionists. This week, the Department of Justice deleted a press release about one man with an ongoing child sex solicitation case who came to the Capitol with bear spray. She then shows the before and after. The before is the press release. The after, currently page not.
Donald Trump's Department of Justice is now going through and deleting all of the information, all the press releases on the January 6th insurrectionists, on their charges, what they were arrested for, all the information about this. What? Yes. Donald Trump's Department of Justice under Todd Blanche, his personal attorney, they're having them go through the Department of Justice's website and deleting all the press releases, all the information on those that were arrested on January 6th, on the insurrectionists, those that assaulted the police officers, the Capitol Hill Police, the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police, those that did the destruction to the building, to the facilities, to everything. They're going through and trying to rewrite history to pretend this did not happen. Sounds like we're back in Germany in the 1930s, doesn't it? It does. Completely trying to make up and just eliminate that this ever happened because of this $1.776 billion weaponization fund that caused Congress to basically leave town over the weekend, etc., because they disapprove of it so strongly. So there you have it. Trump's Department of Justice trying to rewrite history on the January 6th insurrection, on the insurrectionists, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, all those that were involved. This is just wrong. Wrong. Let me know what you think. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my cuckoos, my crazies, and don't leave out my burned out light bulbs. What do y'all think?
While you were sleeping, the Department of Justice started erasing January 6th from government websites. Not debating, not reframing, just erasing, plain erasing. Thousands of pages tied to January 6th investigations, prosecutions, and convictions just disappeared from the Department of Justice and government sites overnight. Press releases, case databases, official records, gone, all gone. And the justification that it was supposedly partisan propaganda. Just think about how dangerous that precedent is for a second, because this isn't even about whether you're a Republican or Democrat anymore. This is about whether governments should be allowed to quietly rewrite public historical records depending on who's in power. So today is January 6th. Tomorrow, what? Police violence records, corruption, investigations, war documentation. What else? Protest crackdowns, election controversies. History becomes editable, and once governments start deciding which parts of reality deserve to remain publicly archived, you no longer have stable institutional memory, you have political memory. And that should terrify everyone, because democracies, that's how they collapse. through administrative edits, broken archives, vanishing records, and people too exhausted to notice. And the scariest part, most people won't even realize history is being rewritten until years later when the evidence is already absolutely gone.
All right, we got some pretty Orwellian shit going down. So the DOJ is now starting to delete all press releases related to January 6th rioters. Why would they do that? Because there's an almost $2 billion slush fund now, taxpayer money, that they're going to start handing out to people who assaulted democracy and literally police officers on January 6th. And they need to start, the PR program for that. If you are not aware, if it's been a minute, you need to read 1984. Here's a copy of it. It looks like a lot of things. If you're watching this on TikTok, I put a link to the graphic novel actually, but any library, you can find it. I'm sure you can find it online, borrow it from a friend, whatever. If it's been a minute since you've read 1984, you need to do it again. Literally deleting the past. The government is deleting past records so they can give Trump's supporters money. Pretty neat world to live in.
The DOJ is actively removing pages about January 6th from its website as Donald Trump is fighting to pay insurrectionists over $1 billion taxpayer dollars. They've already removed hundreds of press releases from the official government site in the latest attempt by Donald Trump to reframe the January 6th insurrection and paint the rioters who participated in it as victims. Here's one of the articles they deleted, for example. It's about a Houston man who was sentenced to prison after he assaulted law enforcement officers with bear spray on January 6th. This guy also had a pending child solicitation case as well, and Donald Trump freed him. Now, if you try to go to that exact same website, you'll see 404 error, page not found. And when a journalist called out the DOJ for quietly deleting this information, they responded by saying, "Nothing quiet about it. We are proud to reverse the DOJ's weaponization under the Biden administration. We'll do everything in our power to make whole those who are persecuted for political purposes. This includes stripping DOJ's website of partisan propaganda."
You're watching The Legal Breakdown, Glenn. The DOJ has just been caught pulling a sneaky move. Can you explain what they just did?
Yeah, Brian, I woke up this morning and I went to DOJ's website, and it turns out, at least based on the website, January 6, 2021 never happened. There was no Capitol attack. I don't know, maybe we had a collective fever dream as the American people, but no, January 6th did happen, and DOJ did investigate and prosecute more than 1,600 of the rioters, the attackers, the insurrectionists. But DOJ, under the sort of dark of night, took everything off of its website. All of the press releases talking about the indictments and the convictions of the January 6th attackers that prosecutors, by the hundreds, secured, that juries by the hundreds, grand jurors indicted, trial juries convicted, all poof, gone from DOJ's website, as if they can just erase it from American history, erase it from the history books that will be written. Let's remember, it still exists in all of the court files, in the docket entries of literally thousands of cases. So, this is just more of the Trump administration's propaganda. I mean, George Orwell in 1984 would blush at what the Trump administration is trying to get away with, just misdirecting the American people and trying to fool them into thinking, well, maybe January 6th didn't happen at all.
Do you presume that there's a reason that they're doing this now? Does this kind of signal or suggest that something is coming down the pike as it relates to January 6th?
Oh, no doubt, Brian. So we all have seen this horrific nearly $1.8 billion slush fund for insurrectionists and other friends and associates and maybe family members of Donald Trump. And it is being challenged in court by multiple parties and people. And ultimately, I think it will be dismantled by the courts. It will be struck down. But it's pretty clear to me. I'm going to draw some reasonable inferences here. You have the information on DOJ's website documenting why these January 6th attackers are not entitled to be paid as victims from the $1.8 billion slush fund. There is the evidence that would undercut their attempt to get paid from that slush fund by our tax dollars, mind you. And so DOJ's approach to that, let's call it an incongruity, an inconsistency, when DOJ has on its website, here's the horrible things these January 6th insurrectionists did right on our website. And now they're asking to be paid because they're victims. I know what we'll do. We'll just take down the truthful, accurate information from our website. You know what this looks like to me, Brian? Now, yes, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you're a prosecutor, maybe everything looks like a crime, but that doesn't mean it's not. This, to me, looks like Todd Blanche and Donald Trump's other dirty DOJ officials in a conspiracy, at least practically speaking, with the January 6th rioters, attackers, insurrectionists, in a conspiracy to get them paid with our tax dollars. Because what they're doing is taking from public view the evidence that would make clear they're not entitled to be paid with our tax dollars. Somebody would need to explain to me why that is not Todd Blanche in at least a practical, if not legal, conspiracy to steal taxpayer dollars and give it to insurrectionists, rioters, people who attacked the police. You know, and at its core, I've said many times over, this entire sad chapter in our nation's history makes it clear Donald Trump doesn't back the blue. He backs those who beat the blue. And now the same can be said of Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Now, you use the word conspiracy as it relates to Todd Blanche. I'm assuming that you did so advisedly. And so recognizing that Todd Blanche may be in a legal conspiracy to basically steal our tax dollars to get insurrectionists paid, is this something that the Bar Council, where Todd Blanche is barred, could look at and say that you're abusing your position, you're abusing your law license, and it might be grounds for an investigation or suspension?
You know, there's going to be an entire buffet of misconduct to choose from when ultimately Donald Trump falls from power, Todd Blanche falls from power, and Todd Blanche gets investigated by his Bar Council. I believe he holds his law license in New York. This will be one of many unethical acts by Todd Blanche that will ultimately, I believe, result in a finding of misconduct and likely disbarment. That is the most extreme sanction a Bar Council can hand out to somebody who holds a license to practice law in their state. So, yeah, I have no doubt that all of this will result in Todd Blanche going the way of Rudy Giuliani and Kenneth Chesebro and John Eastman and Jeffrey Clark. Those are former Trump lawyers or Trump-affiliated lawyers who have been disbarred because they were serving dear leader rather than serving the rule of law, complying with their own ethical canons, and if they're DOJ officials, serving the American people. And it's bewildering to me, Brian, why the Todd Blanches of, you know, our present Department of Justice don't look to those disbarred and sanctioned lawyers as a cautionary tale. Why, you know, and let me just say this, you know, if we look back to 1974, right, there were a whole host of co-conspirators with President Richard Nixon. And what were they doing? They were involved in a conspiracy. They were committing crimes with and for the benefit of Richard Nixon. And I'll bet while they were doing it, they were feeling bulletproof, right? They were like, hey, we're with the president. He's going to have our back. We're beyond the reach of the law. We're untouchable. And then once Richard Nixon fell from power, you know what happened? 48 of them, 48 of his criminal associates, his corrupt administration officials were convicted of crimes in federal court, and 30 of them went to prison. So these days, you know, I'm really much more interested in the number 48 and 30 than I am in the number 86 and 47.
Last question here, Glenn, to that end. What needs to happen in the aftermath of this administration if we're fortunate enough to have a Democratic president take control, a Democratic attorney general take control? Because we've seen in the aftermath of a Trump administration what it looks like when we have a Merrick Garland type figure come in and say, look, our our goal here is to put this behind us and try and reconcile our differences and just move forward, as opposed to kind of taking this corruption head on and offering some deterrent effect?
Yeah, the blueprint is clear. The task won't necessarily be easy, but deciding what to do couldn't be simpler because it's just good law enforcement. What you do is you fully, fairly, aggressively, and apolitically investigate the crimes that were committed in violation of our federal laws against the American people during the Trump administration. And you collect up all of the evidence, you present it to a grand jury, and you let the grand jury, sitting as the conscience of the community, decide if there's enough evidence to indict. If there is, you then go into federal court, you impanel 12 citizens sitting in a jury box as the conscience of the community. Once again, you present the evidence to them and you let the jury make the decision. That, Brian, is what accountability looks like. And accountability this time around is non-negotiable.
Yeah, but you know what, y'all? There have been quite a few lawyers disbarred dealing with Donald Trump. Michael Cohen, who was his personal attorney, went to jail and he got disbarred. And Rudy Giuliani got disbarred. So, you fool with Donald Trump. Donald Trump don't care about laws being broken. He doesn't care. So he's trying to justify, because he know he doesn't have a good reason for giving out $1.8 billion to insurrectionists. He knows he don't have a good reason. So now he's going to spend his time having his DOJ scrub the internet and then try to play like it never happened, and their arrest and the fines and everything they had to pay was unjust. That's what he's trying to get to. And we always knew they wiped out records, and look at what they're doing. They're doing it in front of everybody now. These people have no shame. They are committing their crimes and then scrubbing their crimes in front of everyone. And wow. But these are the people, y'all, we're supposed to trust. We're supposed to trust. That's why this world is jacked up, because they are the ones running it. And as far as accountability, these people don't believe in no accountability. And that's another reason why they're scrubbing the internet. But, one thing this guy said, yeah, but you can scrub the internet, but the court records still exist. Okay? The court records still exist. The indictments still exist. So what do you do about that? And you know how many videos people did that day? I know I did a live stream. Many people did on the insurrection. I went live and showed it live as it was going on. So, and I'm one of probably millions of people that showed that insurrection on January 6th. And I also showed those airlight sentences they got. 2 weeks in jail, 3 weeks in jail, laughable sentences. Sentences that did not fit the crime. So, am I shocked? No. I don't expect these people to be on the up and up about anything. I don't. I know whatever they do, they're going to lie about it when it comes down to January 6th. So, yes, he's trying to rewrite history and act like this insurrection didn't happen. He's probably going to act like it was just some little gathering up there, when he gave his speech, and then people left after that. Well, it is what it is. Boy, when people talk about that next, I'm not going to lie to y'all. When people talk about the election in 2028, it makes me cringe to just think these Gentiles may get more time when they don't even deserve the time they got now. They seriously don't even deserve the time they have now. But one more election in 2028, well, that the thought of it makes my skin crawl. It does. It has been pure hell being under these people. And just to think that they will get more time, oh no, makes my stomach turn. So, y'all, we shall see. I will follow this story because I'm still waiting for them. They're trying to get the approval to send this money out, to start shuffling this money out to these January Sixers. You know, that is, boy, I tell you what, if y'all give that money out, is definitely a miscarriage of justice. So people went and committed a crime in a federal building, and y'all rewarded them by giving each one $1 million. Wow. Wow. I now understand what Steve Bannon is saying. He said that there's going to be a lot of people getting arrested after Donald Trump is done with his term, and they absolutely are. I now believe everything he said. They are going to truly get arrested. They have broken so many laws since being in office with Donald Trump. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. And this is going to be my final live for today. I got to get to working on your orders and getting them out the door. I got everything out the door from the weekend. So I just need to get today and whatever's coming in tomorrow. But everything should be officially out tomorrow. So, y'all, thank you so much for your support, not only here on YouTube, but also for my small business. I deeply appreciate it. And, be on the lookout for my lives coming up tomorrow. Shalom, family.